Capitol Hill. For more, I want to bring in Republican Congressman Doug Collins of Georgia. He's the vice chairman of the House Republican Conference. It makes him part of the Republican leadership. Congressman, thanks for taking a few minutes. Well, let's pick up on what we just heard from Casey, what we heard from Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz saying, look, this bill as it is currently constituted is dead on arrival in the Senate. We've heard similar messages from some conservatives in the House. We've heard Rand Paul say similar things on the Senate side. You guys right now on your timetable have a week to come up with 216 votes and pass this thing in the House. Realistically, how much room is there here for negotiation and for change? Is there significant space, or is this more or less going to be the bill that's voted on next week?
I think what we're going to see is you're going to see some discussion go through the committees right now. There's still some proposals that are being worked on. I think there is room for some change, but I think the bill is going forward with the things that we promised on. I'm not going to comment on what Senator Cruz or Senator Paul think about the Senate. There's a lot of folks who never thought we would get to this point where we're actually moving forward, repealing and replacing Obamacare. There was a whole group out there that thought we would never be able to run and do that, and for the last 7 years we've done it, and now we're within chance of making this happen. We're not going to let up now. We're going to continue to fight, and we're going to do it for the American people, which is why we ran and why we've been so adamant about this for so many years.
How do you reconcile these differences we're seeing, though, when it comes to the objections being raised by Republicans? You look on the Senate side, for instance, you have some Republican voices in the Senate saying, look, this is doing away ultimately with the Medicaid expansion, that it's only going to extend it out a couple more years. They say that's unacceptable. You have Republican senators there talking about the Planned Parenthood aspect being unacceptable. That's a little bit more sort of on the left. On the right in the House, you have folks saying this is too much like Obamacare. This keeps too many of the provisions from Obamacare. You've got people on the left and the right within your party who are opposed to this with objections. How do you reconcile that?
Well, I think the first step is not reconciling, but recognize that the Republican Party is full of ideas, both from different sources. The problem is that from the Democratic Party, you never hear nothing but the same party line, and they don't make accommodations for their members. We're working with our members, both who have different ideas, because that's what makes the Republican Party great, is we're moving forward in this debate. That's why you want us to say we're going to bring our ideas to the table. But I think also we have to understand that these ideas that we've been talking about are not new ideas. These things have been run on. We've talked about them. Many of them were in the bills from Tom Price and many others over the past few years. So at this time, when it's down to the crunch time, when we're getting ready to change the historic failure of Obamacare, when we're getting ready to make the affordable access to affordable care for everyone, when we're putting back into control the people, the hardworking taxpayers that I see in my district and across this country, people who were helped by the Affordable Care Act, we've already talked about the fact that we're going to make this a smooth transition. We've already talked about that we're going to keep pre-existing conditions. We're going to keep the children on their insurance until they're 26 years old. We've talked about not reinstating caps and lifetime limits. These are the things we promised, because we have said, and as the president has said, we're going to make this a smooth transition, because in 2012, when the president was reelected, and in 2013, when the exchanges came on the market, the old system was broken. They broke it. We're having to now come back in, and we're fixing it through free market principles and through a discussion with our members, and we're looking forward to that discussion.
But you say that discussion, but look, the criticism going back 7-8 years ago when the Democrats put the Affordable Care Act through in the first place, Republicans said, look, this thing was rushed, it was jammed through, it was done in secret. And here you have basically the unveiling of this bill just a couple days ago, going to a final up-down vote in the House basically next week. We don't have a CBO score. We don't have a full readout on what the cost is. We don't have a readout right now on how many people are covered by this. Aren't you sort of treading on some of the areas you criticized Democrats for 7-8 years ago?
Well, I think if you just simply take what you just said at face value and said, oh, we came up with this a couple of weeks ago and then threw it into the committee, I tend to agree with you, but that's not what we've done. These ideas have been talked about for 7 years. To negate the last 7 years of repeal, to negate the last 7 years of discussions of how we would actually do this, how we would actually work with a free market system, to restore the individual markets, to restore back power to the states, to revamp Medicaid so that it is no longer an at-risk program that we can actually work with, that governors and states can have the flexibility to do what they want to do. If you want to take all of that and set that aside, then maybe you have a discussion that has just happened in the last couple of weeks. But that's not what we've done. We've taken the issues. There is nothing new in these bills inherently that we've not talked about. So I think as you go forward and we look at this, the American people understand that. We're looking to actually move forward on what we promised. I think that's the big part of what the president is saying. This is what we promised. We're going to make good on our promise, and we're going to carry that forward for the American people, because what is the current, here's your choice.
Right.
You're take take the other side. The Democrats and others who may say they don't want to vote for this or they don't want to be a part, then all you're doing is defending a failed system. I'd rather be on the side of history saying we're going to fix this than taking up for something that's broken.
All right, Congressman Doug Collins, Republican from Georgia, thanks for the time.
It's always good to be with you. Thanks.
Okay, quick break. Still ahead. Do Democrats see an opening now that Republicans are not